Everyone. I'm Jamila Farrell, the FF supervisor here at the commission. And as Charles just mentioned, Judge Morris and Chief Hudson are the chairs of the conference planning committee this year. And our theme is evolving responses, what communities can do to reduce family violence. And the conference will be held this year at Jekyll Island, September the 17th through the 20th. And we do have registration is now open. The early bird registration rate is $325. And in order to get that rate, you have to register by June 30th, and then the price increases. So if you haven't registered yet, you can go ahead and register. And after I give my report, I will put the registration link to the conference registration in the chat so you can register. So this year we will have 3 keynote speakers. Leslie Morgan Steiner, Neil Websdale, and April Zioli. And the conference planning committee, we had a lofty task of, selecting the workshops for the conference. So out of all the workshops submitted, we narrowed it down to 30. So we have 30 workshops that were selected. We do have conference scholarships, and they were provided by the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, CJCC. And some of the scholarships are still available. So if you have not applied for one, there's still an opportunity to receive one. So, you can go on our website, and we have the links to all the registration forms on our website. GCFV also provided scholarships to 15 FIP providers. So those scholarships are all gone. So we don't have any more for the FIPs. Also, hotel accommodations have been, the blocks have been getting full really, really quickly. So if you have not reserved your room, I added some new hotels that we got room blocks with to our website. So I would advise you to go ahead and make your reservations now to ensure that you do receive a discounted rate if you haven't already. And we are also offering vendor opportunities this year to for-profit as well as nonprofit organizations. And we will have that information going out next week. So that concludes my report for the conference committee.
So it's going to be a great time. I'm anticipating this probably with more energy than before, because this is a great venue. Have an opportunity to relax and participate in the work. The other thing that I really want to step up and say is that April and her team, her staff is doing a phenomenal job at continuing to push the agenda and the purpose and the mission for the commission ahead. They need our help as well, and we'll talk more about that as we move through this. Oftentimes, the commission members, as commission members, I'm speaking directly to now, is that we want to be a part of this work, and we are a part of this work, but I think that there are some opportunities for us to be more involved. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, especially in reflection on the work that we did at the retreat last week. We had a great time, and the whole idea about face-to-face was invigorating. So I'll continue to move through the agenda. I think the next thing we got up is the legislative committee, and Jacqueline Bond, I think, and Jessica are chairs. Anyone want to step up and take the mic for this presentation?
Hey everybody, this is Jessica. Full disclosure, I am still driving. I'm about 5 minutes out, so I cannot read. I figure you guys don't want me reading while driving.
No.
So, are we able to come back in about 5 minutes? Or is Jacqueline able to? I hate to put her on the spot because I had literally just said I could read it. I just didn't think I was still going to be in the car. And so I'm happy to be able to read it after the next committee update.
No, that's fine. I think we can do that. We can make that adjustment. Let me ask you, is Jacqueline on call?
I'm here and I'm happy to read it.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So
thank you, Jacqueline. I owe you big time.
No problems, Jessica. The 2023 legislative session ended on March 29th. Throughout the session, GCFV followed and actively participated in the progress on numerous bills. Here's a quick summary of the outcomes for bills that were either part of our legislative priorities or were deemed of interest that we were following. Significant updates on the 2023 session bills. SB 83 did not pass during the 2023 session, but because this is the first year of the biennium, it can continue to be pursued in the next session. GCFV was proactively working with Senator Jackson on this bill's passage since the 2022 session, when the commission voted to include it as part of its legislative priorities. The current plan is to continue meeting with Senator Jackson during the off-season to determine the strategy to move forward. SB 12 did not pass during the 2023 session, despite vigorous support from a number of partner agencies, including the commission. Even though it primarily addresses gang activity and prosecution, we supported it due to provisions including a mandatory 5-year minimum for a domestic violence felony conviction involving a firearm and an evidentiary change that would give a presumption of admissibility for evidence of prior history for cases involving domestic violence, elder abuse, or abuse involving a child or disabled person. SB 324 addresses the Confidentiality and Protection Program, or ACP. During the 2022 legislative session, the commission voted to endorse the ACP program. This legislative session, ACP proponents identified Senator Kim Jackson as the bill sponsor and received a bill number. Conversations will continue during the off-season for plans to move this bill during the 2024 session. SB 320 HIV testing requirement for sexual assault offenders. GCFV worked on this legislative issue throughout the session. As the session neared a close, Senator Doc Rett agreed to sponsor it and the bill was filed. We're going to work with Senator Rett and Senator Strickland during the off-season to prepare to move this legislation during the 2024 session. SB 131 was signed into law. This allows a judge to have discretion in proceedings regarding the termination of the parental rights to custody of a child for a surviving parent when that parent has been criminally charged in the death of the other parent. HB 129 was signed into law by Governor Kemp and expands the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or TANF, Public Assistance Program eligibility criteria to include pregnant women. DVSA programs funding. Along with the Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence and other DV organizations, the commission assisted in pursuing additional state funding for DV and sexual assault programs. This year, legislators added $2.26 million for SANE nurses for sexual assault centers. Another $5 million was also added to the budget for the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia to fund a victim advocate in each judicial circuit, as well as a program director, which will allow more federal money to go to other DV and SA programs. There were a number of bills that GCFV followed during the session. Most did not pass, or both have houses by sine die. If those bill sponsors and or supporting organizations seek the commission's support in the 2024 session, we will present those to everyone for a vote on whether to endorse prior to the start of the next session. So these are some issues to pursue in the 2024 session. There are several legislative issues that arose in the late 2023 session that GCFV will participate in addressing during the 2024 session, and this will include amending the state criminal statute OCGA section 16595 to include a violation of a dating violence TPO as a punishable offense. The current law only specifies the family violence TPO, and we provided draft language and identified potential sponsors and will continue to discuss during the off-season to move quickly when the next session begins. There's currently not language prohibiting mutual protective orders in the statute for stalking protective orders. Because we believe prohibition on mutual protective orders is a critical limitation necessary in all protective order statutes because of the serious legal consequences of not prohibiting them. We're working with legislators to address this amendment, and initial conversations about the issue have been well received. GCFV continues to express the need for policies that prevent dangerous domestic violence offenders from lawfully possessing firearms. We believe the domestic violence fatality data, including increasing numbers of murder-suicides, support the need for this policy. However, we continue to discuss the issues and work with our state and community partners to determine the best approach to move forward on this issue, as it is a complex problem that requires a deliberative, collaborative effort. The 2024 pre-session policy roundtable, GCFV's legislative committee will begin planning the policy roundtable this summer. Last year, we had a phenomenal roundtable event with record turnout and received many great ideas and feedbacks. This year, we are looking forward to another great roundtable. Announcements will be forthcoming with event dates and details, including whether it will be virtual or in person. And finally, we continue to appreciate and value the key partnerships and support of the YWCA, Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence, the Georgia Network to End Sexual Assault, the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, and the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, as well as all the other partners who work with us during and after the legislative session each year, and who continue to support and champion legislative and policy efforts that help families and survivors in Georgia. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I appreciate it. It is now time for me to have some reflections, actually, about the commission retreat that we just participated in. And I want to say from the beginning, it was so much fun, but it was also work related in the sense that we got things done while we were there as well. But we learned some things about each other that we did not know. If you can imagine, sitting in a room, we were asked to everybody write on a place card or on a card some things, one or two, or maybe even three things about ourselves that nobody knew, that we wanted to expose. And what was interesting about that is that we wrote those things down and we found it so difficult to talk about ourselves on paper. Everybody was having a good time. We were supposed to have 5 or 10 minutes to do that. We were taking like 20 minutes. All of a sudden you're asked to talk about yourself on the place card. And we found it was actually amusing to an extent. But we finally got that done. We got the issues put on paper on the place card, and we gave it to our facilitator. Our job was to take the information each person wrote down, take that information and look across the room and identify who that belonged to. It was absolutely amazing. We were so wrong. We were so wrong. We got in the position of looking around the room and trying to look at expressions. That's how desperate we were. Whose expression is going to give it up? And I was given expressions that really did not belong to me, because people started to choose me to be the person that was being described. At any rate, we learned so many things about each other that we did not know. And it was such a pleasant experience. And we bonded around that. We were able to have FaceTime around that and bond around that. We laughed together. We were amazed together at some of the comments and things that people were willing to share about themselves. And so it was not only energizing, but it brought us together. It brought us together in a different kind of way. And I was really not only impressed by it, but I was moved by it, about the exercise. That was only one of several. And April Ross had us practicing some things about whether or not we could walk and chew gum at the same time. I guess would be the outcome of that. What she had us do was stand up. First of all, it was after lunch. So after lunch, everybody was trying to sit down, and we had our own. The lunch was wonderful, by the way. So the lunch was absolutely good, and we got up coming back to the meeting. April was like, "Okay, so no, this is the time you're going to stand up." So we all stood up in the room, and she gave us some instructions. It was weird. I'll tell you, it was absolutely weird. The instructions were absolutely weird. But again, it was invigorating, and it also gave us time to let our inner child out, so to speak, because we were able to laugh about some of that. So she would give us some instructions, and some of you guys may want to weigh in because I might mess this up. So she gave us some instructions about being able to, I'll say our name, and not only say our name, but when we say our name, we should clap. Help me out, Jamil. Help me out. We should clap.
It was walk meant stop, stop
Okay.
meant walk, clap meant say your name. If you see she said name, you had to clap. Hop, dance, dance, hop. So it was the opposite of whatever that, like they telling you.
Can you imagine us sitting around in that room and she'd say your name. You can't say your name, you have to clap. So we did that for a few minutes, and it was so funny watching all of us just mess that up. so we enjoyed that as well. But again, it was bonding. It was bringing us together, not so much around work, but also allowing us to let our little inner child out, as I mentioned earlier, have some fun with it, and also wake up and not get so sleep after our lunch. So great job, April. I really enjoyed that. In fact, I'm going to use it as we do our next retreat here at our office. It was a great experience. The other thing is that came out of that is that we pulled together work groups. So here's the work part. We pulled together work groups, and we were instructed to do SWOT analysis on some of the key points, some of the key focuses of the commission. And we all understood, after all of that, we chose some chairs of some of the committees, but we also understood how important it is for commission members to be involved and be engaged. April and her team, they do a phenomenal job facilitating the work that we do, but they could use our help, take some of that load off. The workload is tremendous, absolutely tremendous. And it would be really, really important that the commission members take note of the fact that, first of all, we were able to bond and unite around the strategic planning, but we want to move that into our everyday thinking about how we can support the commission. So we'll be asking you at some point. I know April is going to send out another email with an attachment with it. But we have committees that were formed, and we want you to think about which committee you could best support, and you'd be willing to support us in. One of them is governance and oversight, and I won't read the complete description of these just for the sake of time. I won't do that. But think about it: governance and oversight committee. We need help with that committee. We need members to sign up for that committee. The Fatality Review Committee, in like manner, think about whether or not you would want to participate on that committee. And if so, in the email that she sent out, or pick up the phone, or however you communicate with April or her staff, let us know that you want to participate on that Fatality Review Committee. Some members are already assigned, but if you're not assigned, think about how you can help. That's the purpose of that. FVIP committee, we certainly need your help because there's some people assigned to that already as well, but we certainly can use your help in fortifying that committee, getting members, being able to think outside of the box with some of this, because a lot of work happens in FVIP, and all of it is focused on the fact that we're trying to eliminate victim perpetration. We're trying to eliminate that. So our ability to bring together thinkers about how to facilitate groups is important, and some of the things that should be involved in that. So if you're concerned with FVIP, sign up for that committee. Policy and Legislative Committee. You just heard Jacqueline read off some things from our legislative insight that pertains to the commission. If you are political minded and want to be involved in legislative issues, please pick up the phone or send an email and join that committee. Jamila just talked about the conference, and the conference happens every year. And because it happens every year, the planning for the next conference is going to start as soon as this one is over, if it hasn't started already. So if you're interested in event planning and having your head and your heart and your skill set wrapped around that, please join that committee. And we have the Strategic Planning Committee and also Task Force Committee. So those are some of the committees that we have that are being facilitated every day. We would like your input. We would like your participation to join those committees. So give it, and again, the way that you do that is pick up the phone or send April an email, and we can get you on board. Join the team. Don't just stand outside of the spectator box, but join the team and help us out. That's the invitation. Join the team and help us get that work done. All right, we'll move into the GCFB staff updates at this time. And task force, Stacy?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Sperling. I'm going to give you our mid-year task force update. So at the mid-year point, task forces are continuing the work on accomplishing their goals for the year. Task forces around the state held events and training series for National Crime Victims' Rights Week, which was April 23rd through the 29th. Currently, approximately half of our existing task forces have voted on their meeting formats and have begun actually meeting back in person. The remaining half have decided to use hybrid or fully virtual meetings for the time being. Task force committee work is in full swing, with committees organizing around the state on issues including legislative issues, committees on accountability, outreach, compliance, court watch. They're doing fatality review, education, the faith community, teen dating violence, elder abuse, and of course, support for survivors of murder-suicide and fundraising. The task force nominations have been sent out for Task Force of the Year and Task Force Member of the Year. Those forms have been sent. If you didn't receive one, please reach out to me and I can get that to you. The nominations for those awards do close on July 31st. The awardees will be notified by August 31st, and they will be honored at this year's conference in Jekyll Island. So please, again, reach out to me directly if you have a nomination in mind, and I will send you the form. We are also working on task force summits. So my colleagues, Carolyn Brooks and Kylie Elliott, we've been planning for the first set of those task force summits. So that planning is ongoing, but the two summits will be held in November 2023. And the first two summits will take place in Valdosta and Brunswick. The training will encompass the Atlantic, Waycross, Alapaha, Tifton, and Southern Judicial Circuits. And the training will cover the foundations of a coordinated community response. We'll also train on support for survivors of murder-suicide protocol, regional family violence data. We'll talk about action and implementation of task force goals, and also evaluation methods. And so we plan to take these summits all around the state, but we're really excited to get them kicked off this November. On May 17th, we had a training that was sponsored by the Commission for Family Violence Task Forces. It was conducted virtually. The training was called How to Build and Sustain Coordinated Community Response Teams that Yield Results. And it was attended by 48 participants around the state. The training was very successful. It was led by two national CCR experts, Erica Olson and Julie German. It was very well received, and a recording of the training will be made available to the registrants. And also, if any commission members would like to receive a recording of that training, please reach out to me and I will send that to you. So we do still have circuits that do not have task forces. So if you have contacts in any of these circuits, or you know of anybody that wants to start a task force in these circuits, please reach out to me. That's the Atlantic, the Dougherty, Middle, Oconee, Patala, Paulding, Rome, South Georgia, Southwestern, and Tallapoosa circuits. And a list of those circuits are in my task force report. That's it. If you have any questions, please reach out to me.
Any questions for Stacy about task force? Hearing none, we'll move right along to our Family Violence Intervention Program updates. I think Nadej is going to take care of that, if I'm not mistaken. I know Jamila's name is on there as well, but Jamila's name is on most things. So Nadej, are you on the call?
I think Nadej is having some technical stuff, so I'll go ahead. Are you going to do it? Well, I can do the report because I know she's having some technical difficulties. So I'll just go over what we've been doing in the last quarter since our last meeting. We had training in March and April, Dr. Carolyn West, an award-winning author, internationally recognized speaker, and documentary filmmaker and expert witness, conducted two workshop series focused on Black women and their use of violence and domestic violence incidents. The sessions were well received and attended by 30 attendees. So those were really highly anticipated trainings that we would like to bring back to our EFIP facilitators and providers. And also, we did have some of the clinicians from the Support for Survivors of Murder-Suicide Project. So it was well attended. The EFIP team has conducted informational sessions. One was on facilitator and provider recertification requirements, and the other on EFIP rules. And we had about 12 attendees in each session, and we have several more sessions scheduled for the remainder of the year. The next one we have scheduled is July 21st. So we do hope that people come out to those sessions. Join the sessions virtually, because we know that a lot of EFIPs do have questions, and during those sessions, Nadege and I are available to answer those questions. In May, we conducted our EFIP basics training, and it was about 14 attendees who completed that training. And that's the training for those who are seeking certification as EFIP facilitators. And we also conducted training for the Misdemeanor Probation Oversight Unit, MPOU, for probation officers. And we do this throughout the year of their role in the EFIP and family violence. So we did that training, I think that was last month. So we're going to move on to the monitoring and enforcement actions. So the EFIP team has been diligently revising the EFIP rules, and we plan to have something soon by the fall to submit to the subcommittee and to the DCS board for approval. So we're in the development process of doing that. And in that process, we are looking at developing a new training for the providers, because only EFIP basics, that's the required training for those seeking certification as facilitators. That's the only thing that we require. For facilitators, we do require training for them, and the providers don't have a training. So what we've been noticing is that a lot of the providers are not aware of the rules, are not as versed in them as they need to be as providers. So we are looking at developing a training that will require providers those who are seeking certification and who are certified to attend. EFIP facilitator site visits and administrative audits are being conducted for those who have not been monitored within the last year. And for the EFIPs that are on the call, these site visits are not optional, they are required. So when we reach out to you, please make sure that you respond to Nadege in a timely manner so that we can schedule you. Based on our rules, all EFIP facilitators and providers are required to have a site visit or administrative audit within every 2 years of your certification. So again, these are not optional, they are required. And we are looking to develop a weekly newsletter for EFIPs, and it'll be distributed sometime in July, starting in July. So be looking forward to that. So that concludes the EFIP report.
Thank you, Jamila. I attended the Carolyn West training. It was wonderful training. It was 2 days, and it was insightful. So I would encourage all the listeners on this call that when these trainings are announced, that you take full advantage of them, because they are not only informative, but they allow you to take a peek behind the scenes at some of the work that other people are doing in order to further eliminate violence in a home and ensure family connectedness. We have firearms lethality alert report. Who's taking that?
Good morning. It is Jackie Herrera.
Okay,
I'm the
Jackie.
project coordinator. Hey there, everybody. I am reporting on our flag project, which is the Firearm Lethality Alert Georgia project. The focus of this project is to address the lethal combination between abuser access to firearms and domestic violence in the 46 county service area of the Northern District of Georgia. We know from our 2022 Fatality Review Project that of the 193 domestic violence fatalities in Georgia, 81% of those cases involved firearms. Presently, under federal law, any person who is subject to a temporary protective order or any person who has been convicted of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence is prohibited from possessing or acquiring a firearm or ammunition. In Georgia, when a prohibited person is denied the attempt to purchase a firearm, the victim is not notified of the potential danger. And although the language in the protective order specifically restricts the abuser from possessing or purchasing a firearm, the violation is rarely enforced or prosecuted because Georgia has not codified the federal law. So, working within these present parameters, the project is focusing on the following goals. First, it is to create a system for victim notification and ensure the victim is completing a safety plan when an abuser is denied access to a firearm as a result of a background check. Next, it is to bring awareness to the issue by providing clear information about existing federal prohibitions for stakeholders to use. And lastly, it is to work on strengthening protocols from responses from law enforcement and prosecutors. In April, we participated in a preliminary information gathering session for the FTAP, which is the Firearm Technical Assistance Project pilot sites, to provide baseline information for the FTAP training and technical assistance providers. We were joined by commission members, and I thank you for attending that session, as well as GCFV staff and a few of our community partners. And we have been assigned a TA provider, and we are waiting to be contacted by them so we can kind of start formulating more of the development of this project. Currently, I'm working on determining the best approach to access the background check denial notifications that are sent via email to local law enforcement agencies. Accessing these denial notifications are imperative in order to begin alerting victims of the abuser's attempt to purchase a firearm. Conversations in this regard are ongoing with GBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and law enforcement. Upcoming, we plan to begin highlighting the issues involving firearms and domestic violence within our targeted communities in August with a visit to the Rockdale County Domestic Violence Task Force. And I want to thank you, Judge Bills, for extending that invitation to us. That is all I have for now. Should anyone have any questions or need any further information on the project, please feel free to contact me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Jackie. Thank you. I think now we have the Family Violence Fatality Review, and I'm understanding that Samara, you and the Data Enhancement Project, Samara, you're going to be taking the lead on that?
I'll speak first. So I'm Carolyn Brooks. I'm the Fatality Review Coordinator. Summer and I are work in tandem on this project. So first, just a quick overview of fatality tracking numbers. In 2022, domestic violence fatalities decreased compared to the historic high that we saw in 2021. However, if we zoom out and look at the past 10 years in Georgia, domestic violence fatalities have increased by 42%. And murder-suicide specifically have increased by 31% over the past 10 years. In 2022, there were 152 fatal incidents with 193 fatalities. And you heard Jackie mention that 81% of them were with firearms. And then from 2021 to 2022, there was a 13% decrease. So while there was a decrease, to put in context of the last 10 years, overall fatalities are still increasing in Georgia. And the same holds true for the murder-suicides. There's a 10% decrease between 2021 and 2022. But an overall increase in the past 10 years. We are currently reporting and verifying 2023 numbers. They are on a similar track to 2022 currently. And then we've been doing a lot of training and focusing on our theme this year has been from numbers to practice. So taking our data and making it digestible for people to put into action. So Kylie and I have the honor of co-presenting at the Conference on Crimes Against Women last month, talking about from numbers to practice and the ability to connect with a lot of people from across the country there about what we're doing here in Georgia and able to share a lot of the successes from the murder-suicide project, which was really exciting to talk to other people about and get people on board with moving forward in that area as well, and how to use their numbers to implement change. We have another training coming up at the National Organization of Victims Assistance, their conference in July that we also will be presenting at. We have been training other constituents as well, Family Violence Intervention Program, partnering with Jamila and Nadej on that. And then also with the Juvenile Court Association of Georgia, looking at addressing violence at a younger age to hopefully prevent more of these cases from escalating to fatal violence. And then, as Stacy mentioned, we are working on developing the Task Force Summit, again, within that theme of taking numbers into practice and then looking at evaluating that and feeding that back in so that we can continue to evolve and do better and prevent more violence from occurring. And I'll hand it over to Summer for the rest of the updates.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Summer Abdelmajid, our Family Violence Data Analyst. I'm going to talk about our recent publications and then a little bit about our family violence data. So we recently published the Family Violence Statistics and Trends in the State of Georgia 2018 to 2021 report, and then also our Family Violence Fact Sheet. Both are available on our website, and April also emailed those out to you guys. So with the Family Violence Statistics and Trends report, something interesting that has happened recently is that that report includes a full appendix, county specific. So we've been receiving some feedback when people see that there's a discrepancy between their data, their agency data, and then the data that was reported to us through GBI. So when we receive that feedback, we've been investigating that, and they do the same. So we found that there have been some issues with getting the law enforcement agency reports through to GBI and then through to us. So if you look at the report and you go into your appendix and the numbers look very, very weird to you, there might be a reason for that, and that's a great opportunity to contact your local agencies. Talking about our data, this year we fulfilled 15 plus data requests for various external partners, providing statewide and local information over the past decade on DV-related fatalities and incidents. We're using data-centric approaches to evaluate the effectiveness of our other programs, like FIPS and the Supporting Survivors of Murder-Suicide projects. We recently received 2022 Family Violence Incident Report data, so that gives us incident reports to analyze over a 5-year period. Our analysis has yielded interesting insights into the factors that most correlate with increased lethality and specific police outcomes, which we hope to explore more in our upcoming publications. We're currently exploring new data management options so that we can more easily access and compare data over the last decade, as well as opportunities to share more family violence data directly on our website.
Is that it, Summer? Thank you, Carolyn and Summer, for your reports. You can tell that when you got somebody standing in, we're zipping right through this agenda. So it kind of reminds me of church when our pastor is not there. So we have somebody standing in, they get you in and out. they get you in and out. We're zipping right through this agenda. I want to pause and say that one of the conversations during our FVIP breakout group when we were doing our SWOT analysis was about how we can determine the effectiveness of FVIPs. And one of the things is trying to determine the recidivism rates and how people are either going back, being charged again. All that stuff is important because we're trying to get judges also to order FVIP for people who are coming before them. So it just reminded me when Summer was doing having her turn at the mic that it is so important. Once again, I'm inviting commission members to get involved with that. Some folks on this call right now may have experience in trying to collect that kind of data. We're in the field all the time doing the work and not taking time to step back And because how does it work? How do you know it works? What evidence do you have? Efficacy is so important in trying to establish the fact that the work that we're doing is effective. So again, just another invitation to people, to the commission members on this call. Callie, support for survivors and murder-suicide, you are up.
Thank you, sir. Yes, this is Kylie Elliott. I am the Support for Survivors of Murder-Suicide Project Coordinator. And Charles, I'm going to help with keeping things moving right along because my report will be able to be pretty concise because I've collaborated a lot this quarter with my colleagues on a lot of projects, since they've already done a lot of good reports on some of the murder-suicide related activity. As Carolyn said, as I'm seeing, the data for 2023 actually has been, with the murder-suicide trends being a little bit lower, at least they were for the first quarter. I admit we're seeing a few more as the second quarter is starting, but the numbers seem to be trending down just a little bit, but that in no way reduces our immediate work, because as we see, survivors continue to have needs arising for years to come. So in the first quarter of 2023, the one thing that I did a lot on my own that kept me very busy was direct contact with survivors, which is what's unique about this murder-suicide project, is that we are actually providing that direct victim support that they're missing in other ways. And I had over 236 contacts myself with 84 new and existing survivors of murder-suicide in the first quarter of this year. That's a pretty significant number of conversations and assistance surrounding very, very difficult loss and need. So we're really grateful to be able to fill that gap for survivors as we continue to build the community response. And other great news is related to both the Georgia Murder-Suicide Response Network that we created, which is the group of mental health clinicians, some of them which are even on this call as attendees. In April, GCFV completed training for the 5th cohort of these mental health clinicians. And so now the Georgia Murder-Suicide Response Network totals over 50 clinicians that are spread all across the state of Georgia, providing services. So we have certainly better than we've ever had before, but really strongly improving coverage in our state for resources for survivors to receive counseling. I continue to meet with that network monthly. We're kind of really growing great new and exciting ideas about how to serve survivors. We have also in just a couple weeks, we will be completing our 4th support group that is specifically for survivors of murder-suicide using the restorative retelling model. Going forward, I think we'll probably have 3 to 4 of these groups a year, but I'm really excited to share that Summer did some really some intensive data analysis on our pre and post group measures to kind of see, are these groups worth it? Are we having significant change for survivors? And she has reported to us and provided us with data saying that we are having significantly improved symptoms and responses from these groups. They're really having a positive change for them. So we're seeing those results both in the data and also in the surveys and feedback that we're getting directly from survivors. So that's really exciting. And again, just to be very brief on this, I have been collaborating with Stacy and Carolyn a good bit. Stacy and Carolyn on building the Task Force Summit training to help bring murder-suicide more to our communities in Georgia. And then also other ways, and then I've been partnering with Carolyn on bringing showing how the data translate into a good project with murder-suicide on a national level. And we're getting great response. Everyone is just kind of like it's opening people's eyes across the country that this is a massive gap. So Georgia's really happy. We're really happy to be able to share that information and hopefully spread this kind of response across the country. A couple other important trainings we did in the month of April. I provided a DV Dynamics training to the Atlanta Bar Association. And then I co-trained on the topic of criminal decision-making in DV cases to the Georgia Magistrate Judges Spring Recertification Training. In May, Carolyn and I partnered twice, both at CACAW at the Conference on Crimes Against Driven, and then again at Prosecuting Attorneys Council to provide information on the Murder-Suicide Project and our data. And then with regard to that, and then so in total for the quarter, I believe that our project has trained over 425 professionals on murder-suicide response and domestic violence in our state. So I've been very busy with a lot of training and client support, and we're excited about where we're going. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Kylie. It's brought to my attention, or at least I'm in reflection. I'm thinking about the trainings that you do. Are they PowerPoints, or are they trainings that can be shared, or how available are they? Would be my question.
They certainly are PowerPoint driven and can be shared in that way. We've given them both virtually and in person, but they certainly have PowerPoint accompaniment.
Yeah, I was just curious on my own, because some of those I would love to have the information, the content of those trainings, because some of those just really stood out for me personally. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We'd be happy to help.
Thanks. Nikki, I see you're up and running. So
the technical difficulties seem to be abounding today. So thanks everybody for hanging in with us. Our whole team seems to be, I don't know, struggling with Zoom today. I'll go ahead and just provide an overview of the grants and special projects that we've been working on. Again, sort of keeping things a little bit brief today. Much of the work that I do, as most of you already know, is sort of in conjunction with the staff that's already reported. So I will limit my time on all of those things, since you've already heard about what we've been working on. But one thing that hasn't yet come up is that we're in the process of, you're hearing all the good things and all the hard work that's happening. And we want to make sure that the people who are accessing the GCFV website have the ability to see when trainings are coming up and understand how to access, supportive services for survivors and things of that nature. So we're in the process of evaluating our website to plan, and we plan to make some significant improvements to content and to try to improve the user experience, because as we've moved forward and sort of diversified the work that we're doing, when you look back at the website, you realize, oh, we're missing some stuff here. So we're looking at trying to do, implement things on the website that will help streamline the data process for data requests. Of course, Summer talked about the work she's doing and the data requests that she's received. We know that as our communities turn more towards data-driven responses, that they are going to need to look to us as that, domestic violence clearinghouse for data. So we're going to try to streamline that process, come up with a way of highlighting the new reports that we've been releasing that can get a little bit buried in web pages, and building out some additional pages for the work that Kylie's doing with Survivors of Murder-Suicide Project, so that varied audiences that need to access that information, such as victims who have different needs from providers, who have different needs from, other sort of entities, all have a special place to go to identify where to get the information that most applies to them. So that's exciting. And hopefully you'll be seeing that over the next few months as we make continual improvements. We're also anticipating the release of requests for proposals for our grants from CJCC. In fact, we got our first one this week for our VOCA grant. And so grants at CJCC over this cycle are competitive. So that's important, because that means we're writing new grant proposals, we're introducing new ideas, and they're, being considered for funding. That said, I just want to mention to the commission members and even, our allies that are on the call, that the opportunity may come up that we may be looking for folks to collaborate with on new initiatives that we may have. or for project development, as well as we may be reaching out for some letters of support, because all of these are important factors when we are being considered for new funding. Again, it's limited funding. Many of you are aware that there has been numerous funding cuts in terms of the funds available for services that we provide. More than half of our staff is grant funded. So we just need to do everything we can to make sure we keep this amazing staff with us. And so we may reach out to you in that regard to see if you can support us. Also, again, since our last meeting, we have had numerous grant related documents and reports in addition to the upcoming applications that are coming in. So I've got a list of those, what we've submitted. Just seems that has been a growing list of, administrative tasks that have come up with grants this year, but things are going well in that regard. On the more exciting and new information side of things, one thing that hasn't been covered by our other projects yet is that we have been working on our law enforcement education project grant to develop full day regional trainings for law enforcement officers. Right now, what we're planning is to hold trainings over the course of 2 weeks in 6 locations. So the first week being August 21st to 25th, and the second week being October 2nd to 6th. So we're hoping to hit, all of the regions of the state, so everybody would have an opportunity to just travel a short distance if they wanted to attend. And since it's going to be full day trainings, some of the subjects that we're planning to include in that training is lethality indicators, identification of the predominant aggressor, regional crime statistics, and an overview of some of the work that we've been doing in sort of in the data to practice, vein that Carolyn and Summer and Kylie have been working on. Also talking about barriers to victim safety and connecting law enforcement officers to their local family violence programs for or connecting victims that way via law enforcement. Also addressing abuser access to firearms and other emerging issues and recent law changes. So some exciting, it's going to be a full day, but I think it's going to be a great training, still in development. And just wanted to let you know, we'll be sending out some information around, about that once we tighten up exactly where we're going to be on what days. And all of that information will also get posted on the GCFV training and events webpage on our website. So I think that's pretty much it. Everything else I've had that's sort of listy is just included in my written update. So thanks for the time.
Nikki, thanks a bunch. Appreciate it. We mentioned a couple of times about the website and its potential renovations or amendments or add-ons, however you want to phrase it. But it's going to be important that we pay attention to that. Information is key, and being able to give people information in bites so that they can consume it. We know the attention span these days of most folks, adults and young people included, is not as long as it once was. So we want to be able to have that thought in mind as we continue to work on, begin to work on the site. The other thing that came up in our retreat is how does the community see us? That question was posed. How does your community see the Commission on Family Violence? Only as an authority, or are we engaging? Or are we trendsetters? So how that question is a valuable question. So if you have thoughts about that, weigh in on that. And again, being invited to the table so your voice can be heard as commission members to know, to be able to examine that question so that we can be engaging for all members of the community, not just certain segments of the community, but all members. So I just wanted to add that as Nikki talked about the website. So thanks again, Nikki, appreciate it. April, our fearless leader, April Ross, is up to give us some director's remarks. So you got the stage.
Thank you so much, Charles. And, thanks everyone for coming again. I'll just say a few things, on the retreat. The vision going into planning it for this year expanded off of last year when we were just there as the staff, but the importance of bringing the commission members in because we need as Charles said, those voices in the room and that direct engagement and assistance. We recognize that, the appointment to the commission is still a volunteer role. And we work at the end of the day with all of our commission members when you do assist us to make sure that we, as much as possible, lighten the load for you. And so, don't hesitate for fear that, I won't be able to fit this on my plate. We will work with you. We just want you there to have a voice and to give us that direction. That was the intent behind the legislators creating a 37-member body to head this organization. So I think the vision is to try to get us there, get us where we used to be. I felt very encouraged and excited about the progress that came out of the retreat with those commission members that came. I know many people wanted to be there and weren't able to, and I look forward to continuing to try to plan and expand this event so that we can have more opportunities with commission members in the future to have that on-site, in the room time to think and ask those tough questions of ourselves. So I will say this, there were a lot of action items and ideas that came out of the meetings. And so I think what Charles is continuing to emphasize is the need that we continue the work. Sometimes there's a tendency at these meetings that you can have a great discussion and then forget to keep it going. And that's what we're really interested in not doing. And so we're really going to be reaching out. So please check your emails. I will be sending a form out shortly after the meeting with the information about the committees and allowing the commission members to sign up and express their interest. You can also reach out to me directly and have a conversation about where you think you might best fit if you aren't sure. I do want to express a special thank you to our chair, Judge Whitaker, who couldn't be here today, for her leadership in planning the commission retreat, as well as Barbara Neville. I think Barbara and I should rent ourselves out and go on the road as the Icebreaker and Activities Dream Team. Seems like we might have been a hit. So maybe there's something there that we can do. So, but I want to thank her for taking her time, participating with me in strategizing and planning the activities for both days in terms of how you ask the right questions and get everybody thinking. So thank you again. The executive committee will be continuing to talk about the timing and the format of the next commission offsite. There's some idea that we might incorporate it with the conference public meeting that we do there, since a lot of commission members are present there. And also that's a way to get you all more engaged in attending the conference. So if that's also an idea we're exploring and hoping to talk to some of the committees that'll be working on that as time goes on. So in the meantime, I'll also be sharing the slides as a handout to everyone on the commission from the retreat. So you'll have an opportunity to see what we were discussing and what activities we did in terms of the SWOT analysis and the group breakouts. So you'll have that information. If you have more questions, again, I'm available to talk to you at any point in time. Just reach out. I do want to talk for a quick moment. Charles has really got me thinking as well. We've been talking a lot about the FVIP data issue and how to focus on this issue of efficacy with the FVIP program. It is a legislative mandate that FVIP is supposed to be ordered in certain cases where someone is charged with family violence offense or subject to a protective order. However, we know that we're facing a lot of challenges around how often judges are ordering it, as well as the capacity of the programs in terms of the number of programs we have and how much capacity there is. But at the end of the day, it really is important for us to know our data and explore it around recidivism, around program attendance, around all of those questions that show you whether or not it works. We have anecdotal stories sometimes, and I will use Judge Morris as an example. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but she has an accountability court program that she's running up right now. And she recently shared a great story from a participant to show what that person felt coming after going through her program. So those kind of things are really great. I mean, even though data in general is what we really look at, that evidence-based data, but anecdotal examples of what outcomes people are having are certainly just as exciting and interesting. So as FBIPs, will share that example to say, if you have a success story or an interesting story of a participant that you want to share with Jamila and Nadej and I, so that we can kind of look at that and explore it or even highlight it, please send them. I think it's a good thing for us to know. We don't always have those, we don't see it, you're up there up front. So yeah, share those stories. Those anecdotal stories make a big difference. And thank you, Judge Morris, for sharing that with us, because it was an amazing story. I don't know if you want to share a little bit about what that was.
Well, we don't do a graduation like the other accountability courts because we don't want to further empower people. We're trying to balance that playing field, but we do have them write an essay, and we give them sort of a format of the questions they need to answer. And we have them read that in open court as part of their completion. And I've shared with April a number of the essays we've received, and all of them started out thinking they didn't need this program, it wouldn't help them. They were just going through the motions, and then somewhere along the line, it stuck. And they talk about how it affected not just their life at home, but their life in terms of their employment, their relationships with their children, just their life in general, and the skills they've learned, the skills they've been able to pass on. One young man that I think I shared with April, and I'll try not to go on forever about it, but one young man, his goals in life when he started the program were to play video games and drink beer with his buddies. That's it. So he got into the program and we forced him to get a job. He found out that he was pretty smart and he liked making money. So he has now started his own business. He has gone back to get his business degree over at our Dalton State. He's got a mentor from the Small Business Administration, and he's doing really well. He has established a great relationship with his child and the child's mother, and has just done amazing. And quite frankly, he's done so well in his business that he drives a nicer car than I do. So there we go. But we're really, really, the staff puts a lot of work into helping these folks. And it's like Jennifer Thomas says, hurting people hurt people. And it's allowed us to address some of the pain that these people have carried since childhood that has made them act out this way. And hopefully that's what's going to change the recidivism issue for us. So thanks, April, for the shout out. I'll keep sending those to you.
Absolutely. And I'll just say, again, I'm gonna put myself out on a limb here. We do a really great job of highlighting survivors and their stories. But there are also, we may forget, there are also some amazing stories from people who have used violence and who have gone down the wrong path, but who have found their way back. And perhaps it isn't a bad thing to talk about that too. But I won't belabor that anymore. I'll move on. I do want to talk, excuse me. I guess that was supposed to be the mic drop moment because my voice went out right on that end. But I guess I'll wrap up quickly. So it may feel like the meeting is moving a lot quicker, and that is true because this week or this particular quarter, I did not put a community spotlight in. In all honesty, full transparency, we were planning that retreat, and I am many things, but a superhero I am not. So I have my limitations. We will have community spotlights back next quarter. And if certainly, again, I'll put out there, if you have an idea or something great happening in your community or with your organization, please send it to me, let me know. I'd love to highlight it as a spotlight in our commission meeting. We do have some upcoming training that I'm really excited about. I've been harping on about how we've got new training opportunities. We're partnering with ICJE to bring more training for judges. So we're going to be doing, in partnership with the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges, we'll be co-facilitating a 6-hour online course for Georgia judges. This includes magistrate, state, and superior court judges. Actually, I believe even it's a multi-class support, so any class of judge can attend, including probate, but the ones that most apply would be the state, magistrate, and superior court judges. But our own Judge Beryl Anderson will be also leading some of the segments with us. We're very excited about this opportunity and building and growing in the area of providing training to judges and building that relationship. So we look forward to continuing to bring more work to ICJE. If anyone has questions about that upcoming training or interested in how to join it and how to sign up, or how to give the information to the judges or someone you know who you think could help make it a success, please reach out to me and I'll be happy to make that connection and share the information. Kylie mentioned that she's been training all over the place this past quarter, and that's true. But she and I will also be partnering in the next few weeks, or actually next week, to do a training with magistrate clerks, which is a first in a long time. Clerks are just as important to give training about domestic violence because they are also a key player in the court system who touch and work with and speak to victims and survivors and offenders who are working their way through a case or a court proceeding. So we want to make sure that clerks, just as much as anyone, have the right information about how to work, how to understand the dynamics, and how to address high conflict situations if there's a victim and an offender coming into the courthouse. The conference is coming up. We've talked about it already. Registration is open. Commission members can register. We have a code that you can use for registration. As you know, commission members get a complimentary registration attendance to the conference. But similar to last year, I will say, if you aren't able to attend the conference, I would really love to be able to gift your complimentary registration to another community member or partner who would like to come. So I'll be sending out, again, more communication about that. If you aren't able to attend, please just respond and let me know, and we can coordinate giving it, even if you would like to gift it to a particular person in your community. But we would like to gift it to someone who will use it because there's a lot of people who would like to attend, and oftentimes there's not enough scholarships to go around. So please let me know. Lastly, I will talk briefly about our ongoing work around appointments. So we're continuing to look for recommendations to fill our current vacancies on the commission. I am actually, already working just out of the commission retreat. I've gotten down and busy working with our judges and our chair on the judicial vacancies to get recommendations, but we are still open and I'm ready and listening to any commission members who would like to send me a referral or provide any assistance to talk about those vacancies. I can share the list of vacancies with the commission members in a future communication. So if you have any questions, you can let me know. As for members of the public may be interested in knowing where are their vacancies, that information is on our website. So you can see the current list of commission members along with all of the appointed seats and which ones don't have a current appointed member. So that information is open and free to the public if you're curious to know. But that concludes my report. I just want to say thank you again to the commission members. I know that you all do a lot in your daily work, but you also make time to be here with us. We appreciate it, and we're here to ask for more. So we look forward to continue to work with you in the coming months and year.
Thank you, April. Thank you so much. I'm going to pause and thank Judge Cindy Morris for lifting that up. I'm an FBIP facilitator, wear several hats, but there are opportunities for guys to come into programs, FBIP programs, and actually internalize the messages and the work that we're doing. And they get better. They get better in terms of their relationships with their families and controlling their behavior, their anger, so on and so forth. So, April, I want to say thank you for creating space to even begin to have that conversation, to even say that in this public forum like that people, that they get that voice in the room. There are people who come through all of our programs. They come through and they get better, and they're thanking us for being a part of their lives in a positive kind of way. So, so I would love to see an opportunity for those voices also to be added to some of the work that we're doing. So, but they're not all terrible, horrible stories that have terrible outcomes. Some of them are very nice and worth lifting up. And I wanted to thank you, April, for being that person, being that champion, taking a risk somewhat in terms of being able to creating space for this conversation. So thank you so much. At this time, we want to open the floor for public comment. Are there any any individuals on this call that have public comments or information they wanted to share with the commission?
Yes, sir. Charles, we do have a few. We have 3 right now that are on the list. The first one is Jan Christensen.
Please go ahead.
Hello, I'm Jan Christensen. I'm the Executive Director of the Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And I just want to give a couple updates about our organization. We received a Department of Justice grant for our Justice for Incarcerated Survivors project to take on some wrongful conviction cases. So we're partnering with the Fulton County DA's office with their wrongful conviction unit to do that project. And many of you know Deanna Swope, who is the director of our Bridges Deaf Advocacy Program. Deanna will be leaving us sometime this month, but we have a new person coming in who is, I'm hoping, just as wonderful, but seems just as wonderful as Deanna to direct that program. And we're super excited to have her start later this month. There will be a little overlap so that Deanna can train her on site. Also, just one more update. We have been giving mini grants through our economic justice program to survivors, direct cash to survivors who apply. And so we're really excited about that. We got a grant to do that. And so we're giving away money. And so it's super exciting that so many survivors are able to take advantage of the program. I also want to thank the leadership and the partnership of the commission. April and her team are just fantastic. And we are so fortunate to be a partner with this organization. Thanks so much.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Who's next, Callie?
Yes, Susan Vitale.
Yes, thank you. I didn't realize I was going to have to speak. So I too am a certified FF facilitator. And so, recently what's happened is the providers and the facilitators have separate certifications, right? And so one of the things that I'm running into with the task force, I operate, in offices from several counties, even though, our classes are virtual right now. And I'm having a hard time, I understand the task force members have full-time jobs and they're doing this as a volunteer basis. And I really appreciate all that they do, but, I am trying to be involved and I'm finding it very difficult to get on these email lists separate from the provider that I work with. So, there's one particular, I don't want to name any in particular, but there's one in particular that, I've been trying for 2 years to get on their mailing list. And I've been going to the portal and checking on some things and some dates, and things aren't matching up with reality. So I get frustrated because I'm trying to go to task force meetings and then I'm not able to attend. I don't have the right Zoom information. I can't get on the mailing list. So I don't know if anyone else is having that problem, but I just wanted to kind of bring that to the attention of the commission a little bit. Thank you.
Hi, Susan. I can speak to that, Charles. I will put my contact information in the chat box, and if you can reach out directly to me, I will connect you with the task force. We can have a conversation about it, and I'll reach out to the task force. And anyone who's having issues can do that, and I'll connect them with the task force.
Thank you, Stacy. I was about to make that suggestion, and you took that right away. So that's nice. What you got, Callie?
I got one more. I have Gregory Clemens.
Hello, everyone. Family violence facilitator. The question I have is kind of confused on it. Basically, some of the clients that I receive only required to do 12 weeks. And we understand that there's anger management and there's family violence. But in some counties, especially in a pretrial situation, they order them to do family violence for 12 weeks. But we know in the state it's required for 24. My concern is this: what power do I have, or the commission have, to override that, especially when we realize that the clients need more classes, need more help?
Nadesh, Jamila?
Hi, Gregory. Thank you for your comment. I put me and Nadej's information in the chat. So we can definitely talk more about this offline, but we do understand that this is happening in certain jurisdictions and we're working on that. But a lot of times what we tell our providers, that you can tell the participant that the program is 24 weeks and that they have to abide by the 24-week requirement. Some judges may override that and only require them to do 12 weeks, but we are willing to work with you to try and rectify that situation. So we can definitely talk offline.
And I'll just add, this again goes back to our need to really focus on this training issue. So we're going to continue to make efforts to spread the training around the state with all of our judges so that they are aware of what FIP is and what the requirements are and how we can work with them to make appropriate recommendations in every case.
Thank you, April. So we are coming to a close. Thank you so much for allowing us to engage you in this meeting. We really appreciate it. Don't forget that I will kind of reiterate something April said earlier. To put your hand up and say that I want to be more involved it's a good thing. And April and her team won't, and I can say this personally, they won't dump on you things that you won't be able to handle. And I use that terminology intentional. So if you have a heart for being a part of committee work and that kind of thing, don't hesitate in doing it. And we all are busy, and I do understand that. I certainly am amongst that list along with the rest of you, but I'm finding it rewarding to be a part of the work that we're doing as a commission member. So please consider that.
Charles, I have someone in the, I hate to interrupt, someone in the chat said they had a request to speak, but I don't have record of that. So I don't know if we moved on. Tracy Palmer Duran.
Okay.
Yes, hi. I did register to speak and I did get an email confirmation, so I'm not sure what happened there, but thank you so much for allowing me to speak. And I want to thank all of you on this committee for all of your hard work and your volunteering hours. The one thing that I just wanted to bring up was, I know Ms. Brooks quoted some statistics, and I'm just wondering if those also include domestic violence against men. Because that is also on the rise. I've been keeping up with some statistics of fathers being shot or murdered at custody exchanges. And I just want to make sure that some of those statistics are also included in your work. That's all I had to say. And thank you very much for your time.
I can respond to that, Charles.
Okay.
So our domestic violence fatalities list that we track is all fatalities related to domestic violence. So that is inclusive of whether it is a victim or a perpetrator or a bystander or an intervener that is involved in the incident. So as long as the source of the incident was a domestic violence or intimate partner violence dispute or relationship that caused the fatality, it's included. And so it includes both homicides and suicides. So the gender of the person who died doesn't matter in terms of whether it's included or not. It's anybody that dies related to a domestic violence incident. We record the gender of everyone as available so that we're able to look at patterns and trends across the state. I hope that answers your question.
Carolyn, thank you so much. We appreciate you responding to that. And obviously the staff of the commission is available if you wish to further investigate. I had other questions regarding the things that concern you. So pick up the phone, send an email. The staff will respond to you in a manner that reflective of the questions or getting the questions that you are asking answered. Are there any other folks in the queue, Kelly? That's it? Okay, so we didn't do bad. So thank you so much for engaging us in these last couple of hours. I will adjourn this meeting with a quote from John Kennedy. He said that change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or to the present are certain to miss the future. So I want you to let that sit with you for a minute, and I want it to be an encouraging statement to say that we want to be invested in the future. And in doing that, we want to become trendsetters as a commission. We want to set trends. We don't want to be responding to other folks doing it, but we need your voice at the table in order to do that. So again, here's my invitation to you. Pick up the phone, get that email out, send it to April, and let her know you're interested, and we'll be glad to respond to it. Okay, I got the time as 11:24, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much for your participation.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great Friday.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.